A vase of fresh flowers sits on the dining table. The change in the house is felt right away. The father, now in his mid-50s, looks happier since his remarriage. Next to him is his new wife, a graceful and attractive woman in her mid-40s. The two college-aged sons are still a bit awkward but watch her with curiosity. Her introduction is short and gentle, "Let's get along well." The mood at home is different, light laughter replaces the heavy air. Her touch is seen in the kitchen and the living room. The curtains, tablecloth, and small decorations are all new. The house slowly takes on a softer, more lively feel. The father smiles at the change with quiet pride. The sons feel both unfamiliar and refreshed. Dinner conversations are cautious at first, but laughter soon follows. The early days of remarriage are still a time of adjustment. But one thing is clear, the house has started to breathe again. The remarried home glows each night with soft light and quiet laughter. The father and his new wife spend much time together, and their closeness fills the air. The two sons sense this atmosphere. The sounds behind the closed door feel like a forbidden world. They cannot look inside, but their imagination runs endlessly. The father's bright face shows the secret bond of the couple. The stepmother's eyes hold a deep and mysterious charm. In the sons' hearts, a hard-to-name curiosity grows. It is a mix of longing, desire, and the tremor of taboo. At times they envy their father, at times her smile feels distant and alluring. Yet all these feelings remain hidden, like shadows. The forbidden only fuels their imagination, and the ache grows sharper. Their glances stay careful, but an unspoken yearning lies beneath. In the end, their journey is one of restraint, where desire survives only as silent fantasy. Steam slipping through the door feels like a secret veil, pulling him in. The sound of dripping water is like a forbidden melody. A faint silhouette stands out like a mysterious statue, and his eyes stay fixed. Son's chest pounds like a drum, his breath shakes like wind in reeds. The scene feels unreal, more like a dream or a myth. A sense of awe rises in him, as if he is peeking into a sacred place. But awe turns quickly into desire, and he loses control. His mind flashes with light, his fingers tremble as if holding fire. At last the wave crashes over him, unstoppable. The peak strikes like lightning, wrapping his whole being. For a moment, the world stops, and he collapses into stillness. After joy comes a heavy silence. An emptiness and guilt press into his chest. He hides his face in his hands, wishing to disappear. Yet deep inside, the trembling remains, impossible to erase. On the mat in the living room, stepmother's body moves in fluid curves. Each yoga pose flows like the quiet current of a river. Her son cannot steady his breath, his chest pounds like a drum. Before his eyes unfolds a scene both art and forbidden myth. Each drop of sweat falls and sparkles like crystal, stirring the air. He wants to look away, but his gaze only sinks deeper. His mind burns like a restless fire. His heart, facing the taboo, shakes like a trembling gate. In that moment, he captures the scene with a small device. The recording is not just memory, it is a match holding a hidden flame. At night, the darkness swallows all sound. Alone in his room, he draws that flame out again. On the screen, the movement revives, shaking him like a rising tide. Desire and guilt collide like lightning and thunder. His heart races, his breath wavers like reeds before a storm. The wave grows stronger, the dam of restraint breaks. In an instant the world shatters white, and he falls into stillness. The joy is brief, leaving only a deep emptiness. He hides his face, reminded of the line he should never cross. Yet the trembling remains, like a shadow that will not fade. He cannot stop at the threshold of the forbidden. The small scrap of cloth beneath his fingertips feels less like fabric than a secret key. Its delicate texture is like the sound of strings played blindfolded. The scent brushing his nose stirs both old memories and new desire. His heart beats like a relentless drum, his breath quickens like wind. Once he steps across the line, he can no longer hold himself back. What he holds is just an object, yet within him a strange vision takes shape. His mind tries to restrain him, but his body is seized by fire. Conflict crashes over him like a storm, he wavers like a boat in rough seas. In the end, he cannot put it down and retreats to his room. In the darkness, alone, he clutches the spark again. Like a single flame lighting the room, his longing rekindles. The vision grows sharper, the waves in his chest rise higher. The dam of reason collapses in an instant. The wave breaks over him, sweeping his mind into blinding flashes. The climax tears through him like the edge of a storm. What remains is silence, emptiness, and heavy breath. A trace lingers on his fingertips, oddly warm and cold at once. He covers his face, consumed with self-reproach. Yet the trembling of that moment remains, like a shadow that will not fade. The light seeping through the crack of the closed door looked like the entrance to another world. The faint movements inside slipped into his ears like a forbidden melody. He held his breath, his heart swaying to the rhythm. It was a scene he should never see, yet he could not look away. His chest raged like a storm, his reason flickered like an unsteady lamp. What unfolded before him felt less like reality and more like a mysterious play. A fire rose deep within, pulling him into a burning tide. His fingertips trembled, his breath wavered like reeds in the wind. The will to resist crumbled like a castle of sand. The vision sharpened, the longing grew relentless. At last, the wave crashed over him, sweeping him away. A blinding flash erupted, and time seemed to stop. The peak was quiet yet destructive, like the eye of a storm. He collapsed, his breath short and ragged. Soon silence filled the room again. The flame of ecstasy faded quickly, leaving emptiness and guilt in its place. A trace still clung to his fingertips, like a mark that would not fade. He covered his face, turning his gaze away as if fleeing. "How far have I fallen?" the whisper scattered into the void. That night, he went to sleep carrying a shadow he could never confess. Her husband's breath is still beside her, yet the old warmth has long since faded. She tells herself it is because of his health, but a hollow wind stirs in her heart. In the mirror she is still a woman, yet her quiet longing is pressed down in silence. Each night the blankets grow colder, and their conversations grow shorter. She tries to fill the emptiness with kindness, but a subtle ache lingers within. And that ache remains as a lonely shadow she cannot share with anyone. Her nights grow longer, and the bed feels colder. Her husband's silence rises like a wall, trapping her heart inside. Desire wells up like a spring held down, seeking its own escape. In her solitude, she clings to a small spark. The tremor in her fingertips is as delicate tears touching forbidden fruit. The room is still, yet her breath shakes violently. Desire rushes over her like waves, wrapping her whole body. Then, for an instant, a glance brushes through the crack of the door. What should never be seen wavers in the air like wind. Her eyes widen, and hurried footsteps retreat. In the silence that follows, her chest is caught between fear and longing. The trace of ecstasy is brief, but guilt stretches long. She pulls back her hand, covers her face, and holds her breath. The empty room feels heavier than before. And that night, she learns painfully of the shadow she must bear alone. Through the crack of a closed door, he accidentally glimpses a forbidden scene. A quiet movement, a held-back tremor, appears like a shadow. In that instant, the air freezes and his heart pounds like a storm. He should look away, but his feet feel rooted to the floor. The fire of taboo slips in like a spark, burning through his chest. His breath quickens, tightened by the fear of being caught. The sight before him feels like a sanctuary where sin and desire collide. Then suddenly, the shadow seems to sense his presence and stops. The silence that follows is as heavy as thunder. He turns away and retreats as if fleeing. But his mind is already shaken, the echoes of breath still ringing in his ears. Back in his room, he buries his face in his hands. Ecstasy and fear consume him together. The knowledge that he touched the edge of a taboo is both sweet and bitter. In the end, he realizes he must carry his shadow alone, deep in solitude. Her husband's absence turns the house into an empty shell each night. In the silence, she feels a hunger echoing through her. Her eyes waver at every closed door, her breath flickers like a lonely flame. The lure of the forbidden approaches like a shadow, whispering at her ear. At first she resists, but in the end her steps cross the boundary. The venture is as perilous as entering an unfamiliar forest. With every moment her heart pounds like a storm, her reason breaks like crashing waves. Her figure blooms under the moonlight like a flower, radiating even to herself a strange allure. Desire spreads like fire, consuming her body and her heart. She sinks deeper into the labyrinth with each passing instant. Yet the peak of ecstasy is only a fleeting spark. The light flares and then goes out, leaving the room filled with emptiness. She tries to wipe away the trembling in her fingertips, but the shadow remains. Guilt seeps in like a cold fog, wrapping around her. The face in the mirror is no longer a woman, but a wanderer who crossed a forbidden line. She closes her eyes and whispers, "This is not love." Yet her body still carries a smoldering ember. Desire and regret clash endlessly within her, shaking her without rest. At dawn, the light outside the window signals another ordinary day. But the night's adventure endures, a shadow carved deep within her. The stepmother smiles gently as she shares the news of her pregnancy. In an instant, the air in the house stirs with both surprise and joy. The father's eyes grow moist as he clasps her hand tightly. The two sons, awkward but sincere, offer their congratulations. Laughter and cheer fill the house for the first time in a long while. Like blossoms opening, a warm blessing spreads across the dinner table. The stepmother closes her eyes, holding the thrill of a new beginning in her heart. The father raises his glass, toasting to the family's future. The sons smile, sharing in the hope of what lies ahead. And so, in this home, a new story begins once more.